Welcome to Boomer Between the Games, presented by Xfinity. I'm your host, Boomer Esiason. Later on, we're going to take a look back at the great performance by Kirk Cousins and the Redskins against the Green Bay Packers, and then look ahead to some great Week 12 matchups in the NFL. But first, let's welcome in our guest this week. He's former Philadelphia Eagle wide receiver, five-time Pro Bowler, Mike Quick. He's also the analyst for WIP Radio 94.1 in Philadelphia for the Eagle games. And Mike, let's just take a look back real quickly on Week 11. A couple of the great games. Kirk Cousins had an outstanding game Sunday night against the Green Bay Packers. Here's a guy essentially who's bet on himself. He signed a one-year contract. Basically, the Redskins franchise tagged him for $19.5 million. You and I would be more than happy to sign for that contract, by the way. But, you know, he has really played well. And after the first 2 weeks of the season, when supposedly whispers were being talked about him not being the real leader and not being the guy that they can count on Washington, he's turned all of that around, flipped it on its head, and he's been a great quarterback and a great leader for the Redskins.
Hey, Boomer, I love that this guy gambled on himself, and then he's coming out playing the way he's playing. Yeah, he's got some weapons. I love his tight ends, and I just think that Kirk Cousins came out with something to prove, and he's proven it. I thought he was great Sunday.
He was great Sunday, and he's going to get a huge contract, especially if he continues to play the way he plays. Now, we'll preview their game between them and the Dallas Cowboys here in a few minutes. But first, let's talk about the Ravens and how they fell short in Dallas. When you take a look at the statistics after the game, Mike, the Dallas Cowboys held the ball for almost 36 minutes. They ran up 417 yards. And the fourth quarter, what I think the most important ingredient that any team can have is a powerful offensive line. And certainly Ezekiel Elliott and Dak Prescott have benefited from that. But when you talk about pushing around the number one defense in the league, that's what the Baltimore Ravens had coming into this game. That's a pretty impressive victory, to say the least, for the Dallas Cowboys.
Well, and Boomer, that's an impressive team to me. I don't know if they're not, one or number two best team in certainly the NFC and maybe in the NFL. When you've got that big offensive line and you got these two young talents that they don't even know bad. Everything they're doing is right so far. They don't even know bad.
You were up close and personal with the Eagles last week in Seattle. I still think that Carson Wentz is going to be a fine quarterback in the future. He's going to be there, much like Donovan McNabb was there for years and years to come, and I think he's going to have his share of championships. That's how good I think he is. And we always have to remember that he is a rookie. When you go on the road to a place like Seattle against a defense like the Seattle Seahawks that basically was missing one of their starters in Michael Bennett, that is a difficult place to play.
Difficult place, very, very good football team, and I think it's the best defense that the Eagles have seen this season. They're so aggressive, and, I think they just continue to pound at this offensive line and pound at this offense until they just couldn't move the football against them. Yeah, the offensive line is banged up for the Eagles. They've had to make a lot of moves, switching guys around, and that hasn't helped Carson Wentz. But I agree. I think he's going to be a fantastic quarterback in this league for a long time.
And I wouldn't be surprised if they make the playoffs anyway. There's a lot of football left to be played. Time for our Twitter question of the week, presented by Xfinity. And this comes from @DrDre99. He wants to know, after the loss in Week 11 to Dallas, Joe Flacco said, "We should beat this team. Do you have confidence that Baltimore can improve to finish the season?" #BoomerBTG. Here's the problem with Baltimore. They have a very difficult final 6 games. Maybe the 2 easiest games on their schedule will be the Cincinnati Bengals, but because that is a division game, those games tend to be a little bit more stressful, a little bit more anxiety-ridden. The good news for the Ravens is that they still possess a top 5 defense. I just don't know if they can go on and make it as a wild card team in order for them to make the playoffs. I don't know if you agree with me, Mike. They have to win the AFC North. There is going to be no wild card out of that division.
Well, and Joe Flacco has to play better. Their defense is going to play, and I know that he's been challenged a couple of times. I think even the great Ray Lewis, Ray, the linebacker that played there, I think he even challenged him. And I think it really comes down there, the quarterback play.
Hey, if you have a question for us, tweet at us with #BoomerBTG, and maybe we'll use your tweet on the show. Time to look ahead to Week 12. Mike, a lot of great matchups. And you want to talk about a major disadvantage? How about the Washington Redskins? They play Sunday night against the Green Bay Packers. A great game. We talked about that a little bit earlier, but now it's a short turnaround week. So they go from a Sunday night game to a Thursday afternoon game, and it's not even in their building. They have to fly all the way to Dallas. That's about a 3-hour flight from Washington to Dallas. I don't think this is fair. I think it's a disadvantage. And with the way that Dallas has been playing, and we've been talking about that, it seems like for weeks and weeks and weeks on this program, that Dallas has a distinct advantage coming into this game. And the question that I would have is, can Dallas's defense sustain this offensive running game of the Dallas Cowboys?
I just don't think so. I think that big offensive line of the Cowboys will wear them down. Late in the fourth quarter, Dallas, just like in past games, will get stronger. Ezekiel Elliott will get stronger because he seems to be that type of running back that just gets stronger and stronger as the game wears on, as you feed him, as he says. He's always got the big spoon going to his mouth. I think Dallas will wear him down.
And then finally on Monday night, your Eagles are going to host the struggling Green Bay Packers. And the thing that's so, I think, disappointing about the Packers is really their defense. Even with Clay Matthews back against the Washington Redskins, they gave up, over 40 points once again. Aaron Rodgers is playing okay. He's not playing great, but his numbers will tell you that he's playing above average. The problem is that their defense can't stop anybody.
Correct. Yeah, that defense is, well, if you look at the back end, they've lost key players on the back end, and I think this game really sets up well for the Eagles. Their wide receivers are truly struggling, but I think it's a game that can get their wide receivers back on track, and they are going to incorporate, as they have the past few weeks, more of the tight end, Zach Ertz, and getting him the ball in the middle of the field. So that's going to be an interesting game, Boom. I know you'll be here in Philadelphia to watch that, as I will, and should be an exciting game.
I think it will be an exciting game. I think it will be high scoring. Look forward to seeing you there, Mike. Always great to talk to you for a few minutes to get your perspective on the NFL. Join us next week, everybody, when Chris Sims will be our guest. Thanks for tuning in to Boomer Between the Games, presented by Xfinity. Xfinity X1 will change the way you experience TV.